welcome back to the Gone for 10 show. It's myself, it's Baxter. We're back. It's week 2 of the Rugby League World Cup. And the way this video starts, it's not a try, it's a miracle. If it wasn't for copyright issues, I'd be showing you Addo Carr's last try, because if that's not a try, it's an absolute miracle. But Baxter, as always, mate, welcome back to the podcast. How are you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm good. Up and alive. Christmas is only, 12 weeks away, so let's get into it.
Christmas is only 12 weeks away, but you know what? If Australia wins the World Cup, it's going to come a whole lot sooner for a lot of rugby league fans down under. But instead of going week by week, game by game, we're going to talk by the pools. We'll have the results up on the screen. We'll then obviously jump into the big talking points, the most points at the moment, the most tries. Baxter's is slipping a little bit behind after a pretty dismal effort on the score sheet. We'll then talk about obviously next week's games or this week's, but round 3. And then we'll move into our predictions a bit further of what we think is going to happen in the crossovers. But let's just get straight into it. It's Pool A. As you can see, England, 2 from 2, 4 points. Samoa, they did bounce back as I predicted. France, they're still in with a hunt. They do obviously play next. So France and Samoa, that game's going to decide it. And man, I look at that Greece game. It's going to be an absolute blowout by England. They'll go 3 from 3. But talk to me about this. Another dominant display by England versus a French team that arguably has one of the best defensive coaches in the game. What were your thoughts on this? Is it England really firing, or are they not quite getting challenged as much as they want to in this group?
I think it's a bit of both. England are in I'm not going to say easy, but a easier pool compared to the rest of the other pools. I don't think if England were winning games with a margin of 30 or less, and I'll be sitting here saying that they're not doing their job. They're coming out here, they're firing, they're scoring more points than ever. It just shows they have a lot of attacking and defense strengths for England. France, Trent Robinson will be kicking himself, leaking 42 points in. So, as you said, Samoa France is the last game. It makes this Group A a bit more interesting, which I think they're on at 4 a.m. on Monday. So that's Halloween, Monday morning at 4 a.m. So it's good. It's a good time to get up and watch it. I know I will be, because I'm backing France in that one.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be an interesting one. We will get to predictions later. So I'll leave my little predictions for a little bit later. But a game that I don't know if it was a bit of cheek in time. You didn't think Samoa were going to bounce back. I think deep down we all knew they were going to bounce back because, again, unfortunately, Greece, you've made a World Cup, but you're not there yet. I think this World Cup could be cut down maybe about half the teams and it'd be a lot more competitive. But we do need teams here. So no disrespect to Greece, but Samoa, 72-4, absolute thrashing. What more to say? We expected this, Baxter? You expected this result?
Anybody can beat Greece, so it wasn't too hard. The fact that Greece got 4 points on the board is really, really wonderful to see. But Samoa's big test is coming up this weekend against France. It'll be a cracking game. I've already done my prediction, but yeah, hats off to Samoa. You come back from that thrashing against England and you put a thrashing on Greece. Hopefully France can do the thrashing back.
Well, if anything, it does mean arguably that if this game was to end in a draw, that for and against that Samoa got back in this game could determine who goes through to the next stage. So it is a big result for them. But a big talking point here, we talk about how is England going to go if they do arguably get a cruiser run to the final, if the draws obviously finish how we think, the pools, they'll face an Australia or New Zealand in the final. So I want to turn to one of their players, Ryan Hoare. He's just become the equal 4th most tries in International World Cup Rugby League. Mate, the bloke couldn't get across the line in the NRL. So I guess, what does that tell you? Like, are England really a threat? Do you see them as a team that can win this World Cup on home soil, or are they just making up the numbers because you've got Australia and New Zealand waiting on the other side of the bracket?
No, I don't think they're making up numbers. I have them in my final four. They're really strong. They're really competitive. The players in their starting 17 squad are really, really good. Touch on wood that they don't get any injuries to a few key players, because if they do get a few key injuries to those key players, I think it's a different ball game for them. So touch on wood on there. So we'll just have to wait and see.
100%. Now, Baxter, we have spoken about before when it's come to concussions that maybe there does need to take a little bit from boxing. So I'm going to go to Pool B, and maybe we do need to take something away from boxing, and it's throwing in the white flag, throwing in the towel, getting the match stopped, because Australia 84, Scotland 0, absolute bloodbath. Mate, it's one of those games where you sit there as an Australian and you go, why the fuck do we have to play Scotland? Like, why is Scotland at this World Cup? I know they qualified, but 84-0. They've lost to Italy. They lost to Italy. He got smacked by Fiji. So I'm expecting another 60 points to go against them in the next game. Like, what more do we have to say? Australia dominant. Their players came in. They got the debuts. Have you got anything to add to that besides obviously Cleary being 2 points behind the most points ever scored by an Australian on debut?
Yeah, he should have kicked those other 3 goals. Bloody hell, I could have thrown the ball over from where he was. Terrible. But still, we are that score 84-0 becomes the second highest points differential in a game in international football. We take out 1, 2, 3 in that category, so it was good to see there. As I said, Cleary needs to put his kicking boots on, but I don't think he kicks in the next game coming up, which is I think has been announced. He's a good backup kicker. Don't get me wrong, 12 out of 15 ain't bad, but I rather 100%, and that's where I'm leaning to.
I personally believe that you could see a game. We don't know what's going to happen. Obviously, we could see a lot of players play. We could see a lot of players play 5-10 minutes and get rested. We don't need to win this game. If we were to lose, say we lost this game and Fiji came first, we avoid New Zealand. I'm not seeing a downside to this. So I do think we win the next game. I do think it's a tough one. I think Cleary deserves to kick, but to have that many options, you've got Latrell if you have to fall back on it as well. It's an unbelievable depth that Australia does have. But moving on to my boys, and please, when we get to the predictions, please go against them, because you went against them in round 1. We won. I don't think they're going to beat Australia, but Fiji 60-4 against Italy, brought back down to earth. It's what we expected to happen when they played Scotland, but arguably they could still hold their heads high, obviously being in with a chance coming into this final week. But what were your thoughts on this game? Fiji bouncing back?
Yeah, I didn't expect this one. I thought Italy would run riot over Fiji, but Fiji had a point to prove. Probably listening to this pod last week when I was giving it to them. So they've proved that they're in this fight. They sit second on point differential, and as you said about Group A with Samoa and France, let's just say Fiji lose, but Italy. Where was I going with it? I thought they were playing each other, but they're not. But even if both teams have a draw, Fiji goes through with a points differential. So, it takes 2 wins to win a spot in into the next stage of the competition. So, Fiji have the easier run of games. They played us first, and then they finished with a easy Scotland team. If I'm Australia, I'll be resting every player. If I'm Fiji, I'm bringing out all the big guns and going guns blazing. But then you unfortunately play New Zealand. It's not the way you want to go. But Italy, if they want to get there next week and play New Zealand, they're going to pull their finger out and really do something against Australia.
Listen, I'm just happy that there's an Italian team at a World Cup. I know I said it last week, but I'd like to reiterate, we're at a World Cup, so I'll take that. But again, like you said, if I want, obviously, Australia to make it, yes, that's my main team. Italy, I've got that heritage. I want them to make it. But I think from a World Cup perspective, for a competitiveness, Fiji need to get through because I'm not saying they can beat New Zealand, but they're going to give it one hell of a crack compared to what Italy's going to put forward. So I do have Fiji smashing Scotland. I do have Australia, regardless of who's rested, smashing Italy. Um, and both teams go through with a bit. But we'll move on to Group C. Again, another team that is a bit tighter. New Zealand is out ahead as expected. New Zealand 68, Jamaica 6. Scenes when Jamaica got over the line. It was absolutely brilliant to see. What were your thoughts on this game? And obviously, we'll talk about it a bit later, but your man, Joey Manu, not doing you any favors in that top try scorer race?
Nah, I tried to put a bet on for Jamaica. It wouldn't allow me to do so.
And
Anything.
what did I tell you? And what did I tell you? If you put 50 cents, it stopped you. So you just say 50 cents.
Look, I was actually trying to pump up Jamaica here, but Sportsbet were like, no. But it makes an interesting game coming up. Both New Zealand were great. The scoreline reflects it. Lebanon, great against Ireland, but it makes this a great game coming up because then you got, again, Lebanon are sitting in the position of Fiji. Lebanon take on Jamaica, who haven't won a game this in their pool, but then Ireland play New Zealand. Ireland and Lebanon, as you look on the table there, they're in front, but they've got to play the harder team last. So I think Lebanon go through with Mitchell Moses and Adam Dewey likely to come back into the 6th jersey. So let's hope. Hopefully, the luck of the Irish is on their side and they get a little bit of a jump over New Zealand.
I mean, I think it's going to be pretty big. And I think, obviously, the two teams we did predict to get out, or I predicted to get out of this group, were New Zealand and Lebanon. So I think the class of Mitchell Moses, the class of Adam Dewey, if he does come back into this lineup, I think they're going to run up a score that even if Ireland were to upset New Zealand, that 32-14 points, I think Lebanon's going to win this game by a massive score, and they will jump them in for and against regardless if Ireland were to beat New Zealand. So I do think that it does finish New Zealand and Lebanon. But while we're on the topic, Baxter, give me your thoughts, obviously, on that 32-14 result in Lebanon's favour.
Yeah, it was good. No Adam Dewey to guide the team around in the 6. So it was good on Mitch Moses to get the Lebanon win. I'm not going to lie, I didn't watch most of these games. A bit of a snooze fest. But unlucky Ireland. Hopefully they, as I said, they get the rub of the green, the luck of the Irish on their side, and they jump New Zealand and win, and they force Lebanon to explode with points against Jamaica.
Well, listen, I'm just sitting here praying that if Ireland does go out in this next match, there's no injury or head clash to Luke Keary. So that's my goal for the next match. Don't really care about the result because arguably, yes, New Zealand are probably going to play Australia come that Final Four. So if Ireland want to pull an upset and help us avoid them to the final, that's great. But eventually, I think we will face New Zealand. So I think the sooner the better for Australia. But moving on to Pool D, it's another one that is close. It's still alive. There's still someone that can get out of this group, which I think is brilliant from a standpoint from a World Cup committee that all these games, although they might be clear cut, we might say, okay, this team's going to make it to the next stage. All the groups have something to play for, which is absolutely brilliant to see. So obviously Tonga, mate, I think, and not just mate Tonga, but I really think you stuffed up on that call. I mean, it got us a lot of views, so I'm not complaining that you did say it, but
no, but you
two
just
from
listen.
two.
You listen to all these pundits, right? You listen to all the big guns out there like MG, Matty Johns, Greg Alexander. You listen to all the reporters, and they go, "Oh, Tonga's going to do it." If we all sit and if we all want to follow the shepherd and go where everybody else is going, I just saw that Tonga wouldn't click, and that's fine. I'm happy to eat my pie. I've done it before on this pod, so don't get me wrong, but there's a chance that Tonga actually drop out of this group on points differential. So it's going to be good because coming up, Tonga have got Cook Islands. And as I look at here, Tonga are only sitting 32 plus. Cook Islands are only on 10 minus. So, and even Papua New Guinea, they're only on 10. So really, this game could flip. It could flip because Tonga have got Cook Islands to come up. So even if they win, it could Tonga could be eliminated. Could be mathematically. Mathematically, is doing a lot of heavy lifting there, but these great games, these Pacific Island nations, it just it is proving more of a point to the NRL that there needs to be some sort of Pacific Island team within the Rugby League or Queensland Cup or New South Wales, wherever you want to go, and start feeding this game into more Pacific Island players. Because, mate, look at them, great all around. Couldn't ask for anything better.
I mean, I do agree with you. I think the NRL needs to do more, but I mean, putting a team in probably isn't feasible. Maybe if you say you can have one player, say from a Cook Islands or something like that, outside the salary cap, maybe that's some way to go about it. Instead of a top 30, it's a top 31. You get to bring in one of them outside your salary cap. And let's be honest, they wouldn't be asking for a lot of wage. So you probably would be able to squeeze them into that normal salary cap. But not much really to talk about from this.
The salary cap is jumping up too. I think it's jumping up to a 10.5 mil.
Yeah, but the wages also go up with that. The wages also go up with inflation for the current contracts.
I don't think they should. Like, you sign on the dotted line that this is what I'm going to agree to. I don't think they should jump up in inflation. Like, if your contract is running out and you want to upgrade your contract because of the cap's going up, yeah, fair enough. But Nathan Cleary and Cameron Munster, they've signed on the dotted line of X amount of dollars. They shouldn't get an upgrade just because the cap goes up, because then that defaults, that hurts a young up and coming player where you want to put more money into.
It was reported that Nathan Cleary was actually smart enough to have that in his contract. So it actually is in his contract that he's worth this much, but if the salary cap goes up, he gets a percentage of that added on. So he's probably one a little bit different. He's in his contract.
But I don't think it should have been. The NRL should have said, nah, you shouldn't allow to have that, because then it gives away money you want to allocate to other players. You want to keep in your squad.
Again, that's what a salary cap's for. They've got to try and budget that, and they're going to see it with the likes of Charlie Staines obviously going the other way. All these players that they're going to have to start losing. Api Coruscant.
It's going to happen. Api Coruscant, Liam Martin, Stephen
It's going to happen. It's going to happen, especially.
They're on the last legs. But yeah, back to the international game. Great to see.
Yeah, back to the international game. Not too much to talk about these games. Both results we saw going this way. I think for me, and you've already touched on it before we move on to the next one, is the fight from Cook Islands. Like, this could be a game where they could have got done by 60 points, but they stuck in, they got in the fight, they put 14 points on the board, and the same as their first game, they can walk away holding their head high. But Baxter, before we do jump on, obviously, into week 3's predictions, let's bring up a few stats, because obviously we love stats on this show. You usually love telling me about the weather, but we're not going to talk about the weather in this one. We're going to talk about the top scorers, the top point scorers, the top goal kickers, and touch on that point you brought up before. But the most points at this stage in the international, it is a tied. They both, obviously, as you can see, have 28 points. On the left, he's only played one game. It is Nathan Cleary. Obviously, on the right, most points, it is Arthur Morgu. I don't know how to pronounce his last name because it is French, but both are on 28 points. One's played one game, one's played 2 games. Do you think Nathan Cleary runs away with this, even without his goal kicking? Do you think at some point he takes back over, or what are your thoughts?
Well, it depends on if France go deep into this competition. Don't get me wrong, Nathan Cleary knows how to find the line. He takes after Joey Johns there. He's been trained by the best, one of the best sevens in the game. So don't be too surprised if he crosses the line once or twice like he did against Scotland. But I'm going to play the unbiased thing, and I'm thinking this is the guy on the right. He's going to get the most points.
Well, it is interesting. I'm gonna just pop us off here for a sec because I want to go to the other one first because obviously we have spoken about this one. He does have the most goals after one. He might lose it, but that's not the one I really want to talk about because it depends who gets the goal kicking for Australia if he keeps his record, or if obviously another Australian comes in and steals that. Stephen Crichton's on 11. Arthur is also on 10 goals. He is the kicker for France. For England, Tommy Mackinson is on 10, and obviously Mitchell Moses is on 8. So it depends who takes the kick in for Australia. But moving on to obviously the point that I really wanted to make here, you had Joey Manu top scorer. Is it already over? Is it over? Because the Fox is surely going to score another one or two. Is this
Let's.
man the top try scorer of the tournament?
He probably does. He probably does, and I think when doing it, I try to stay away from Australia as much as possible because yes, we're ranked 4 in the world, but we're the number 1 seeded team. I believe there. I really overlook the Australia team because I want to look elsewhere. I just don't want it to be all Australian biased. Australia to win the comp, Australian to be the top goal scorer, or top scorer, try scorer, and then the top point scorer. Takes out the whole competition point. The best and fairest thing. So I try to look elsewhere and thought Joey Manu could do more, but obviously they're playing a style that doesn't involve Joey as much. So we'll just have to wait and see at the end. Maybe it is a do or die at the end. Come the semi-finals where Joey's on 6 and so is Josh, and winner will get the outright try scorer. We'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, well, it's a massive chance. Obviously, the Fox is starting to show that arguably leaving him out of that New South Wales squad was one of the biggest blunders in State of Origin history. But we will move on. We're going to have a quick fire prediction here. We're not going to talk too much about each game, but we will have a quick fire prediction, maybe 10, 20 seconds, 1 to 12, 13 plus, who you think arguably is going to win the game. And then we'll obviously go a bit more in depth once we know the results. We might go live for a few episodes. We might do a bit of a preview after some games that we do watch if the times match up. But let's just jump straight into it. Quick fire prediction. New Zealand versus Ireland, 1 to 12, 13 plus. Who takes the win?
I'm going New Zealand 1 to 12.
All right, New Zealand 13 plus for me. So we'll see who's right on that one. The next game, I'm going 25 plus. England are going to bury Greece. I'd almost be as brave as going 30 plus, but they might rest some players. How do you see this one going?
20 plus England.
20 plus England. We're on the same page. It doesn't happen very often, but we are on the same page. A team that could arguably make or miss based on this result. Fiji versus Scotland, 1 to 12, 13 plus.
Scotland 30 plus. Oh, sorry.
Sorry?
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 Sorry. I just was looking at Scotland, the word Scotland the whole time. I just went, oh, yeah, Scotland. No, Fiji 30 plus. My bad. I was just looking at the word Scotland on the screen. It was just like, oh, yeah, Scotland.
Jesus. Okay. Yeah. Fiji 13 plus.
30.
Okay, let's just
my bad.
straight past that. Australia versus Italy. If you say 30 plus for Italy, I'm going to be even more shocked than what I just was. But Australia 13 plus, it's not going any other way here.
Depends who plays. I'm going to predict an upset. Italy 1 to 12.
Well, Italy just lost by 60. Thank you very much. Because you know what? Okay, let's rest Nathan Cleary. Oh, look who gets to come in. DCE. Oh,
no,
so
it's not. I reckon if they really wanted to rest players, they put Ben Hunt at 7 and Cherry at 6. And
that's even more scary. That's not even that's a State of Origin winning pairing. That's not any better for Italy. But
not my problem.
Like we said, it is quick fire. Let's jump on to the next one. It is a big clash in terms of the table. Lebanon versus Jamaica.
Hey, go Lebanon 13 plus.
13 plus. I'm going 20 plus. I think Lebanon really blow them out of the water.
The water.
Really blow them out of the water. I think Adam Dewey comes back, he has a point to prove. He gets on the score sheet. He probably gets on it more than once. So I'm going Lebanon 20 plus, Adam Dewey double. We move on to the next one, Tonga versus Cook Islands. I see no other way than Tonga going undefeated in this group. I'm going 13 plus Tonga. What were your thoughts?
I'm going Cook Islands 1-12 to back my prediction early on.
I think that's a bit more crazy than you saying Scotland were going to win 30 plus, but we'll move on from there. Another massive, massive clash. Winner in, loser out. It's Samoa taking on France. I'm going to let you go first on this one because I'm still sitting on the fence.
Going Team France. Team France, baby. Team France.
1-12, 13 plus?
Yeah, 1-12.
I think if there's a coach in the game, knowing that Suwali's playing fullback, knowing his flaws in that game, I am going to go France 1-12 purely because I think it'd be an absolute laugh to see Samoa go out after all the hype that has brought forward. But France 1-12, come on, Trent, get yourself kicking before next year with the Sydney Roosters. But rounding up round 3, it's PNG taking on Wales. Do we have to call the RSPCA? Do we have to call Greenpeace because they were abused last week? Are they getting abused this week, the Wales?
Is there a mercy rule on? Like, when you go to you play in the Rugby League Live, have you ticked the mercy rule on? Because Wales are going to need it with PNG. They're going to run 30 plus all over this team.
Yeah, I think they're going to absolutely batter and bruise this team. And for those people that are still listening and you're like, what the fuck are they talking about? It's Wales, not the animal whale. Go back and listen to the last episode. It was obviously a joke based on someone in the comments that Baxter decided to target. He did spell Wales, the animal way Wales. So maybe we do have to call Greenpeace because they have copped a bit of a beating in this tournament. But Baxter, that wraps up week 3. As always, I'm going to let you. Is there anything in the NRL world away from International Rugby League right now? It could be international, it could not. Is there anything in the world that you do obviously want to bring up?
Yeah, we'll give a shout out to Liam G, the only commenter on the last video. So he thinks I'm still wrong about Tonga, so we'll just see who has the laugh there. But big rumors going around at the moment. Des Hasler gets sacked. Now Seabold is in a 3 deal. Shane Flanagan to take up the assistant role. Nathan Brown, the ex-Warriors and Newcastle Knights coach, will take up the recruitment role, apparently at the St. George Illawarra Dragons. There is also talk that Ruben Garrick has been approached for an interest to move to the Newcastle Knights, which will see Mr. Ponga Man, the $1 million man at Newcastle, push into the 6. You reported to me, Jake Clifford, the man from the Cowboys move mid-season to the Newcastle Knights, is now on his way to Hull FC. Look, that is a great move for him because he's young, he's got a lot to learn. So going to the Super League isn't bad at all. We've seen other players go there, kill it, come back, and they've just turned a new leaf in their game. They're more. I'm lost for words, but they're really good when they come back. So hopefully that works out well. There's other little rumors going around with players coming off contract or entering their last year of their contracts come November 1, which is not that far away. I only realised that's only on Monday next week. So this is at the moment Wednesday. So it's Monday next week, November 1. I should remember that since my son's birthday is the following day. Oh, no, wait. It's on Tuesday.
I say it's on the Wednesday. So please don't wish your son a happy birthday on the wrong day.
No, sorry. It is on the Tuesday. Sorry, I'm just getting my dates wrong here. I'm looking at last year's, not this year's calendar. So my bad. But anything else you want to bring into the outside world of rugby league?
I mean, something I kind of just want to end on. And again, we aren't the biggest podcast at this stage. We are still growing.
What do you
Obviously, I
mean?
want to give
What
a
do you mean? We're the
message.
biggest. We're the biggest. We're
All
big.
right.
We're big.
Calm down, Larry. I know you're not Larry, but calm down. We are on the growth, but obviously, just I guess a massive shout out to Fafita. Obviously, he did retire. He did share our post, but that's not 100% what I want to talk about here. I think it shows the character of a player to go through that effort to share almost every single person or page that has congratulated him on his career. He's gone ahead and shared, mate. You go onto his Instagram. Mate, the fins are so
Oh,
small at the top of the stories because he has shared every single person. He has liked
I
the
was like,
message. It's honestly, it's just unbelievable. That's a player that is a massive loss to this game if we don't give him a job in the game or at the Cronulla Sharks, because that's a man that lives and dies for the fans. So obviously, massive congratulations. 251 games, I believe it is off the top of my head in the NRL.
yes,
He's
yes.
played internationally. He's played at the levels. He's won a ring. He's won the premiership. It's an absolutely brilliant
Played in
career.
Origin too.
Congratulations. He played in Origin as well. So congratulations to Fafita. But Baxter, I think that is the perfect way to send it off, mate. And obviously, we will be back. We will review, obviously, the games. We'll have a bit of a schedule to know who's playing who when. And, mate, as always, if they don't like it, if they don't subscribe, if they don't even comment and have a crack at you after you have a crack at them, where are they going?
They're going for 10, so I expect comments from you, Liam G. I am expecting comments from you.
Well, mate, thank you as always for joining me, and I will talk to you soon. I'm sure we'll talk off air, but we'll be back obviously next week. We have been the Gone for 10 show. We'll be back with the Rugby League World Cup. We'll be back with rumours. We'll be back with anything that does pop up in the NRL world. So, Baxter, thank you again, and I'll talk to you soon.
Peace.